VAT is a consumption tax. It's at the point that service is rendered or service is enjoyed that you pay VAT. If there is an existing contract as of January before the implementation in February, and that contract was signed at 5%, at least the service was not rendered in January. So 7.5% should be applicable at the point when the service is rendered.
Some clarification there for you. If a contract was awarded and executed before the coming into effect of the Finance Act and the commencement of the new VAT rate of 7.5%, but payment is just being made now, what is the applicable rate of VAT? 5%? 7.5%? It was a busy week this last week for the FRS and for stakeholders, and Lagos was the hub. It all began on Tuesday, the 17th of March, when the FRS launched the transfer pricing digital filing platform. On the same day, the FRS hosted a session with banks who are collecting agents for some stamp duties. The occasion was used as a platform for the introduction of the FRS stamp duties portal to the banks. What is stamp duty?
Stamp duty is a tax on every instrument guiding legal transactions between persons, businesses, and government in Nigeria. If you want your agreement to be enforceable, you must make sure that you do the stamp duty. Because when the agreement is going bad and it tends to go to law, they will throw it out of court, except you go back to stamp duty office to do your stamping.
Stamp duty rates are calculated in two ways: fixed and ad valorem, that is, in proportion to the estimated value of the goods or transaction. On jurisdiction of the different tax authorities,
your customers, you can categorize them either individual or corporate organizations. Once they transact business with your bank as a corporate organization, the stamp duty payable on those contracts or agreements is payable to FRS. Once you can identify a corporate organization as a party to that agreement, then you now have FCT and State Internal Revenue Service assess and collect duties on documents executed between persons and individuals.
Stamping has progressed from the red ink of yesteryears, call it dying if you like, to electronic stamping, which came into being a few years ago.
Presently, what we use in our office is electronic stamping, which indicates the office you are stamping from, the date you are stamping, the time, the amount.
Having laid that solid foundation, Mr. Lawal proceeded to talk about the FRS electronic stamp duty portal.
The FRS has gone digital. Whatever you hear about FRS now, e-stamping, ETCC, e-registration. So the e-stamping has been introduced into FRS. This makes you to sit at your converse zone and pay your stamp duty without any stress. All you need to do is to log into stamp duty web portal.
With particular reference to the role of banks, which was why they were invited in the first place.
The Stamp Duty Act requires all banks to pay stamp duty on the following dutiable transactions: guarantor form, that's for loan application, which has a flat rate of 500 naira. Loan agreement at a fee of 1.25% of the loan value. The Stamp Duty Act requires all banks and financial institutions to collect and pay stamp duty on all contracts issued to third party vendor who provides services or service to the banks. To achieve this, banks are to deduct 1% stamp duty from all value of all contracts they issue to suppliers and vendors, and remit same to FRS.
There followed a robust question and answer session.
I'm specifically addressing the issue around all the remittances that we've done between January 2016 till date. Is there any conversation currently with CBN as to how to migrate those backlogs?
What we are doing today is all about what you have taken on behalf of Federal Inland Revenue. Because you know, with the Finance Act, the word federal government was replaced with Federal Inland Revenue. As I do a 10,000 naira worth of transfer from my account to Mr. Maduka's account, you raise two journals immediately. You debit me and you credit Maduka. Then the second journal, you debit me again. Where is the other credit going? So that is the essence of what we are doing today.
We've received a lot of letters from the states asking for stamp duty on individual transactions. They are quoting the Stamp Duty Act. The letter keep coming from different states, and some are threatening to close the bank branches. They are insisting that on deposit from individual to individual, that stamp duty should be paid to state. I know the FRS chairman also double as the JTB chairman. Beyond stamp duty, there are other taxes that this state are frustrating the bank on. Will you please, when you go to JTB meeting, you need to have a meeting with this state. But we will need response on the one on stamp duty on individual to individual, on the contract with vendor that's meant to be 500 and now we're saying is 1% of contract value.
Your question on stamp duty on individuals transaction as it relates to banks, whether the stamp duty should go to the state internal revenue or FRS. If you look at the Stamp Duty Act, Section 4, subsection 2, it says clearly that for stamp duties on individuals, corporate groups, goes to federal government. It's only individuals to individuals. If you have 6 individuals or 10 individuals, it goes to the Board of Internal Revenue. But as long as there is a corporate organization or government agency, it goes to FRS.
For more clarity, we spoke to the drivers of the project. So with regards to stamp duties, what exactly are you expecting from the banks?
Many Nigerians are aware that transfers, electronic transfers of money attract 50 naira, at least from a certain threshold upwards. Maybe you have also seen it in your own debit alerts. The 50 naira stamp duties that is mandated by law. Either to there have been contentions from some other agency of government, NIPOST particularly, and that's made banks to want to be cautious. We have felt all along that it's an FRS remit. FRS has been doing that since probably time immemorial, but there was this contention along the line that NIPOST felt they should be the one to be collecting it. And because of that, I mean the banks now, when they are deducting, they felt we want to be sure. And so they are warehousing that money with the Central Bank of Nigeria, that they say until they get official clarification who actually of the two government agencies is supposed to be collecting stamp duties. But at the end of the day, reason prevailed. Don't forget we are sister agencies, we are children of the same mother, if you like, and therefore government came in, look at the capabilities and the experience and all of that. Naturally, FRS should continue to collect stamp duties. And even the Finance Act 2019 now established it finally, that remit actually belongs to FRS. So we have to get back to the people involved, the banks, to sensitize them. We don't want to take things for granted. We don't want to assume that they have seen what the law is saying or what the federal government has pronounced. It is incumbent on us to also bring them together and tell them this is the true position of things now. And going forward, you should be paying to FRS.
What are you expecting from the banks?
We are faced with two scenarios. First, we're having the backlog Second, what do we need to do going forward? So we brought all the banks together because that is the first point of call. Because currently, we are of the view that our money is in their coffer, and we need to bring that money out. We're also going through MDAs and other specialized sectors again on the same program. But on the phase one is the banks. So we brought them together yesterday to achieve 3 objectives. 1, to get a contact person whom we're going to deal with in each of the banks. 2, to gather data in relation to the backlog so that whichever way we want to handle the backlog, they will be on the same page with us. We gave them a data form where they will have to state all the transactions from 2016, January 15 to 29th of February 2020. They will provide that detail as to the quantum of transaction, the value of the transaction, including the capex, because we know most of the stamp duty affect the deposits, currently above 10,000, but before now, 1,000. And it also affects the contracts that the banks have been awarding. So they have to pay the stamp duty on most of them. Stamp duty is not only about all those things. It also includes every forms of engagement. Any document you need to legalize, or when you have intention to create legal relation on any agreement, you have to duty stamp it. So many ways we pay stamp duty, either as a flat rate or ad valorem rate. But what matters most is that government revenue should come straight to government coffer. And that's why we are implementing a technology now to link up with their system through API.
Does it mean that we've put to rest the controversy of who is to collect between the NIPOST and FRS?
Yes. The Finance Act specifically stated Federal Inland Revenue Service. Initially, it was federal government who anybody can capitalize on. And the postage stamp, they are not the same with stamp duty. So it is not, the NIPOST has nothing to do with it. This is purely an instrument intended for creating legal relation. This is an instrument intended to enforce contract in the court of law, because if you don't duty stamp any agreement, you cannot enforce it in law. The Finance Act 2019 has come up with clarity that the duty to assess, collect, and account for stamp duty lies with Federal Inland Revenue Service.
We also sought clarification from the executive chairman.
The essence of the meeting or the engagement is to call on the banks to remind them on their responsibility as an agent of collecting stamp duty on behalf of Federal Inland Revenue. Number 1. Number 2 is to renew our relationship or the contract that is like agent, landlord, and the tenant. FRS administers stamp duty, and taxpayers pay stamp duty through their platform. So they are the people that stand in between us and the taxpayers. So we felt there was a need for us to engage them. The era of collecting, warehousing, we want that stopped. We do know, yes, there are issues surrounding who owns what. Some could be, yes, that of the Federal Inland Revenue, which is not the sole administrator of stamp duty. Some are that of the state. But at what stage do you remit is the issue. We have employed them to remit. As the stamp duty are collected by the government, we at the Joint Task Board will look at all the issues, reconcile them, and now say this belongs to you or that belongs to me. You should also be aware that we have a GIFMIS at federal government level. The states are coming up their own called CIFMIS. So we are going to marry these platforms together, integrate them, so that as these funds are coming in through the stamp duty platform, the respective owners get their money.
We move on. The day after the stamp duty meeting, yet another session was held, this time on the Finance Act, specifically to ensure the buy-in or to agree with the stakeholders on the contents of information circulars on the operation of the Finance Act.
The gathering today is for the purpose of a joint review of the 6 draft information circulars developed by FIRS on implementation of the 2019 Act. It is also in line with one of my 4 cardinal objectives for the year, which is robust collaboration with stakeholders. I'm aware that information circulars are not laws and are not intended to replace the provisions of the laws. They are very important tools for clarifying various provisions of the tax law in line with Section 8, Section 1T of the FIRS Establishment Act. This joint review is targeted at harnessing your views on the draft in order to ensure that the circulars serve the purposes well.
The executive chairman raised some posers regarding the issue of VAT threshold.
Can threshold work in this country? VAT all over the world as an indirect tax is the main thing that many people use in driving tax revenue. Already, by the time we put our figures together last month, we expected that with the 50% rise in the rate, we should be talking about collections in the range of 700, 800 billion naira. But we immediately ran into 2 challenges. The first is the challenge of the taxpayer that charges VAT, but is refusing to remit because he simply assumed have not gotten to the threshold. The second challenge is for those that feel nobody sees what they are doing, they are not even charging at all. So there are these 2 issues already. So why don't we advise FIRS and Nigerian government on the best way to go? Is it the indirect tax that should have a threshold or the direct tax? Is it income tax that should remain at 25 million or we'll move it up even to like 50 million, that until you get up to 50 million naira turnover, you do not pay company income tax going forward. But for every transaction that is chargeable from 1 naira turnover, why don't we pay VAT?
What we have tried to do is to identify the cogent issues and the major ones. Now, there are some other issues that are addressed by the Finance Act, which we have bundled together in one circular.
What is the essence of this kind of gathering?
This is necessary because the executive chairman of the FRS wants to avoid issuance of circulars indiscriminately, and then to engage experts on fine-tuning the relevant provisions of the Finance Act, so that the taxpayers and the Nigerian public would be better informed about what the Finance Act entails, and then how FRS intends to operationalize the Finance Act. So this is coming at an appropriate time, it's timely, and we look forward to making the circulars public in due course, so that the Finance Act would be better understood by Nigerians.
What's the essence of information circular?
Thank you very much. You know, we have the law. The law as it is may not be robust enough for everybody to understand. We have to create avenue to develop a circular that will support its operationalization. So many things are hidden within the law, but the information circular will give explanation into everything that's required for the taxpayer to know, for the FRS staff to know. And that's why the current amendment says we will not do it alone. We will involve all the stakeholders so that we will get to understand the nitty-gritty of the law, and we'll get to understand what's the requirement, what is required of taxpayers, what's required of FIRS and every party in tax system.
Sir, now, having the views and the feedbacks from relevant stakeholders, are you going to call them back before releasing the information circular?
Well, it depends on how we look at callback. We have shared our initial drafts. We have gotten feedback. We have had this discussion where we have gotten more explanations, and we too have provided explanations. Our next action is to go back and see how we update our drafts with the comments that we have gotten. And then, of course, we still have to pass this through the quality checks. That may involve getting the stakeholders to take another look. It may not be in this format of today's event, but in one way or the other, we are going to get them involved in the final documents.
Finally, sir, doesn't an information circular amount to writing the law?
Absolutely not. The law and lawmaking is an exclusive duty that our Constitution has given to the National Assembly, and nobody can share that right and duty with them. Our own job is to look at those laws, areas that we believe may require further explanation, and that is what we are trying to do. We are not interpreting, it is the courts that interpret the law, but our job is to explain our understanding. And while we are doing this joint review, it's not just FRS understanding only, but now a joint understanding of what the laws are saying, so that at the end of the day, we will look at the laws from the same angle, from the same eye, with the same environment and conditions, and then so that disputes are going to be minimized.
Sir, this event has been attended by who is who in the taxation subsector, and you sat all through the event. What importance do you attach to this?
The importance is that having signed Finance Act 2019 into law, we deemed it important to issue out 6 circulars to provide certain clarification to Nigerians, particularly the taxpayers and the practitioners, as well as the tax administrators across board. So the essence of bringing them together is to expose the issues, the silent issues in the Act. And what we have been able to achieve is that we drafted this information circular, shared it with them for the last, I think, for about 2 weeks, and I agreed that we meet today and get a feedback from them. That is what they have done, and everybody is happy that we've come up with a team, we've carried them along, and that they have now gotten adequate clarification on how, going forward, they are going to represent their clients in tax offices. They are also happy that we're on the same page, because the document that we as tax administrators will be using, that is the document that they as representative of the taxpayer and the taxpayer themselves will be using going forward.
It's a new dawn. FRS carries along stakeholders every step of the way. No more we, them. It's now we and we together. Everyone together. And still talking about we together. This is an invitation to you to join us on another exciting journey into the world of taxation next week on this same station, same day of the week, same time of the day. Please stay clean, wash your hands, and observe the health advisories. See you next week.